11 minutes in front of 8, and now, as promised, from Seoul, South Korea, on the Newsmaker line, my old colleague from the Congress of the United States, Michigan Republican Thaddeus McCotter. Morning to you, Thad, or I guess where you are, it's tomorrow, isn't it? Or what time of day is it in Seoul, South Korea?
Well, we're probably about 10 minutes away from tomorrow.
How about that? Crossing that international. Here's a forward-thinking guy, and it's almost tomorrow where Thad joins us in Seoul, South Korea. Thad, yesterday, or Congressman McCotter, yesterday, pictures are published from the Eyes in the Sky, showing that, now, I don't know what they're calling the new leader of North Korea. We had the dear leader, the glorious leader. I think we have the porky, greasy leader now. But the kid leader, the kid dictator, apparently North Korea continues in building nuclear installations. What have you heard about that? What reaction has there been in South Korea?
Well, obviously here in South Korea, with its psychotic leader to the north, is always grave concern, as you remember, deal with every day, J.D. When our ally has problems, we have problems, the world has problems. They're very concerned about it, and they're also very concerned about the fact that the North Korean state is allowed to act like this because Communist China is refusing to do what the civilized world is calling upon other nations to do, which is put pressure to bear on that regime to stop, cease, and desist. If you think that there's no relationship between Iran's nuclear program and North Korea's nuclear program and the reaction of the world, then you're mistaken. Any rogue regime seeking these weapons is doing so for a reason. Our allies here are very well aware of it, and I think that we have to start making sure that people like Communist China and Putin's Russia understand this is a problem for them, too.
Congressman Thaddeus McCotter, Republican of Michigan, joins us from Seoul, South Korea this morning on the KSFO Morning Show. Thad, Communist China, and I can remember back in my days in Congress, I was one of only 2 Republicans to vote against most favored nation trade status. We get word earlier this week that a Chinese company has bought out AMC Theaters in a purchase, I guess, over $2 billion for that Kansas City-based concern, which is now owned by the Communist Chinese. We haven't even talked about the Chi-Coms and the amount of American debt they are holding. And from all assessments, the Chi-Coms believe they will be the world's preeminent, if not lone superpower, by 2050. What on earth are we going to do, and what is the reaction there because I understand your trip has included a stop in Taiwan. What is going on with the nationalist Chinese?
Everyone is very concerned that this communist nuclear armed dictatorship is flexing its muscle. Even the Philippines are very concerned after some recent developments there. And they know that the United States is an indispensable ally, and they want to make sure that we get our own house in order. The failure of the policy of unconditional appeasement that the United States has created and followed with Communist China is not working. As you recall, J.D., the communist leader Lenin said that the capitalists will sell us the rope we use to hang them. Unfortunately, we're even worse today because Communist Chinese believe, and what we're seeing is the West will the West will buy the rope we will use to hang them. We have got to remember that liberty precedes prosperity. The concept that somehow we can make them rich enough to behave is failing. It's going to continue to fail. And we have to get our house in order so they can stop borrowing money, borrowing our debt and making money off it. We have to treat the trade violations as a comprehensive whole because they're a mercantilist, predatory nation. And we have to affirm our commitment to liberty precedes everything else, because one day you're going to see that regime join the ash can of history. The 21st century is going to be one of freedom, just as the 20th century disproved centralized planning in communist countries' models of governance. And the sooner that happens, the better. But we'd better be on the right side, lest we wind up in a situation where that regime is going away and there's no one to root for.
Congressman, can I ask a question about the politics of South Korea right now? And particularly, how do they view the leadership of President Obama?
Well, everyone's very diplomatic, and we don't, maybe I'm old school, but we don't criticize our own U.S. government on foreign soil. I know that's not something that's always been followed, but I think it's something that's important.
Well, it's something that doesn't seem to be observed by the Democrats, but Republicans always seem to do it.
Yes, but we can be, if we look at this as something that transcends individual administrations, policy towards communist China has been one that has been followed by both President Bush's, President Clinton, and President Obama at the present time. One of the things that has been devalued in terms of the United States policy towards communist China is human rights. And when we see, and when our allies see, people from the United States go to communist China and start talking about how human rights are going to be set aside, or they're going to be deprioritized in terms of other issues, that sends a very chilling message throughout the region, throughout the world, most notably to those people who are suffering under communist China, most notably to those people who are suffering in North Korea under a dictatorship that cares more about nukes than the nutrition of their own people.
Thaddeus McCotter, we know it approaches midnight, as you mentioned there in Seoul. We thank you for taking time out of your day. And upon your return, we hope to visit with you again about the situation internationally involving the communist Chinese and the troubled area that is Korea, North and South. Thanks very much for the time. Our old buddy Mad Rad Thad Dad on the road.